Whew. Okay, let's get back to it today. I am kind of exhausted by this game. The stage has gotten very involved, and I'm doing less and less in a given day than I used to, just because it is a lot to do. Oh god, where was the note that I had? Did I make a note about it? I don't think I did. I should really have a note about these company records. Writing, Guy recreated the 5-piece naming scheme because he's a cartoon villain. Strawberry. Chigua. Butterscotch. Caviar. Sugar plum. That's in sugar plum's the last one added. Which should line up with the twins. So I'm inclined to think that everyone left in this part of the screen is a root tree because of how much it lines up with that, but we're still going to try to do our due diligence. I at least want to find every document. So at least this is probably easier going forward because I feel like unearthing the conspiracy about 5Ps was probably the hardest part. Sugar plum is Susan Ford. Strawberry is Sonia Alves. I wish I'd written this down the first time, both because then I could refer to it in the future, and because Xin Yu Lang. I lost my train of thought with that sentence. Not only would I have been able to like work it out at the time to keep track of it, but I would also be able to refer to it later. So Caviar is Christine Farrow. Interesting that one wasn't double priced even though there's two boys, but yeah, they weren't twins. So I guess even they would have known at the time that it wasn't tied together. I wish I could add in line breaks throughout all this. I guess you can by having them all be separate entries, but that's about it. I could do. It does kind of jam my brain every time this fucking saxophone comes on. Like, I need you to chill, man. It's a very aggro song, instrument to hear in the background. It's like, I don't know why. It's like, is it too similar to human speech in some way? I don't know. So, Guy recreated the 5-piece naming scheme because he's a cartoon villain. Strawberry is Sonia Alves. Chigua is Xin Yu Li. I don't know what that word is. I'm sorry for mispronouncing it every single time. Butterscotch is Beatrice Watts. Caviar is Christine Farrow. Sugar plum is Susan Ford. We know Sugar plum is Susan Ford because it's the last affair. And it's the one that was added last minute right before he then died. So there's two S's. There's two S's, which matches up with two S's we know of. Sonia and Susan. It includes Beatrice and excludes Joanna, going by that naming scheme. So we're probably safe to say that all these people are in fact heirs. But I want to find all the documents involved just for the completionism of actually reading everything and knowing what the full case is. I don't want to rely on this one thing, because another thing to potentially consider is that, like, what if, like, he's wrong? What if someone actually successfully duped him about whether or not the kid was theirs? Because, like, once again, Guy didn't have access to DNA testing. He died before it existed. So there was no way of proving who the father was of any child, really, beyond circumstantial proof of, like, being able to somehow prove that they literally only had sex with one person in that entire, like, time period, basically. Which is not really provable, because you don't... People, like... they don't have a guest book. In any real, concrete, objective way. You could have sex with 7 different people the same day. And then it's just a fun surprise. Alright. Flavio Suarez. Not a lot of evidence. One of them is, I guess, as usual, just about... So, yeah, these must be consistently hinting at this flavor thing. I'm glad I figured it out. I think I would have figured it out inevitably during any of these, because as we go from further to, I think they organized this on purpose this way too. They expect us to go left to right, I think, because that's the reading order. And because, like, you kind of... If you look at this... Because, like, at first you were just doing based on whatever evidence you could find, but now it's completely nonlinear. So I think they expect us to go left or right, because this is just one. So it's, like, the easiest place to start, or so you think, because it's really actually, I haven't been able to prove that one for shit. And then this one's 2. Oh, nice even escalation. And then you get this fucking nightmare amalgam, and that's a lot. And then maybe you go up here to figure out, like, what do you mean we're disputing the people that we had no reason to think we'd even dispute? No one even told me to dispute these people. Like, why am I disputing them in the first place? There must be something to it. If they are just definitely her kids, then I would be... It'd be weird. Like, I'm bracing for finding out that one or the other one of them isn't a kid. And maybe Ronald knows that. Or maybe Ronald's doing it defensively when he tries to get rid of Robert. But, something's up with that. Something's going on with these kids. That's... But, like... I'm just like, who even prompted me to look into them? But yeah, like... That's supposed to... Yeah, the secretary. So when you're going left to right, these 3 were more of his secretaries, so that follows the original pattern. So when you're looking at these people, and it's like, oh yeah, company records. Always look at the company records. You're like, oh, it's the employment history of the mom, right? That makes sense. That's why they keep making you look at the company records. But then you get here, and you're like, wait, the company records are still a piece of evidence every time? That's a smoking gun? It's just, but we've only been using this screen to read about when secretaries come and go. What could be possibly the smoking gun? Oh my god, the fucking 5 pieces! It's funny. It's funny. I enjoy the bait and switch, or whatever you'd want to call it, of, like, having the company records be a completely steadfast piece of evidence in every single case, basically. Even when it stops fitting the reason why you think it's a piece of evidence. Like, you leave the secretaries and you're like, wait a minute, China? Like, Brazil, I think it was? The author? Why are we looking at company records? None of these people... Although for the author's case, you can... One of her stories references a secretary, so you could at least check who it could have been that year, but I don't know if that affects her own children's stakes, so it's still weird. Anyway, company records. So this is just the part where, as far as we can tell, you are Strawberry, which, if anything, gives us a specific time you came into development. Strawberry starts in 1980. So, you were born in 1980, if that's correct. unless they drag their feet on coming after this guy over your existence. And one of our only pieces of evidence is Transmiss Sao Paulo. Got a Nia Alves page. So I got here by searching Nia Alves, apparently. Transmiss Sao Paulo is a massive media group owned and run by a mysterious woman named Sonia Alves. It seems Sonia Alves is a common Brazil name, so she has shortened her name to Nia to stand out from the public's eye. According to a history page that's focused on her company and vague unsearchable details, Nia received a significant inheritance in 1980. Yeah. And invested it in many different manufacturing businesses in her hometown of Brazil. At the same time, she had just begun to learn the ins and outs of running a television network. She continued to work in television until 1988, when Brazil began its period of reform. She felt this was the perfect opportunity to launch her own media company using her investment and connections. Now, her company owns television networks, magazines, newspapers, and advertising firms. After doing some translating, a page about Nia lists her as unmarried. Does not go into any other relationship history. It is actually really surreal that this whole page about Nia Alves doesn't mention that she was the wife of the deposed leader of the country? Like, that's surreal. Like, I do know that, right? I mean, she's in this picture with him. We've identified that, at least, like... What's up? What's wrong with the screen? That was weird. Alright, at the very least, like, I've, like, omnisciently proven it because I'm like, we know these two are a couple. Yeah, I've proven the identities of them via the way that when I put the things on the board, it magically locks in. Which, I don't know who does that. The lock-in mechanic is, like, completely, like, not in the story as far as I can tell. Because who's doing it? I'm the one confirming things in the first place. Anyway. So I would like to try... Let's try looking up you in Business Watch. Nia Alves owns many forms of media in Brazil under the umbrella of Transmiss Sao Paulo. Business Watch also mentioned her by name a few times. The most relevant appearance seems to be an article about the struggles of American media companies to do business with their foreign counterparts due to difference in laws. A few media groups and countries are discussed, including those in Africa and the Middle East. Transmiss Sao Paulo in Brazil is also discussed. Due to a lack of freedom of speech laws in Brazil, there has been added bureaucracy in publishing certain stories on Transmiss Sao Paulo's channels. Nia is extremely private about her identity and supposedly once used her connections to have a reporter fired from a rival network and blacklisted. Damn. The journalist claimed that this was to shut down the story he was doing about her personal life, including her marriage in 1973, was not of her own choice. His research claimed that she essentially had her husband forced upon her as a child bride at the age of 15. It also claims that past appearances with her husband have been for show, they did not live together, and that she resents her own parents for the arrangement. Damn. The final claim was that she must have made her money under the table through nefarious and possibly illegal means during Brazil's dictatorship, and his research uncovered that she could not possibly have earned enough to start a media company otherwise. After making the statement, the reporter went into hiding in fear for his safety. Yeah, she's got some powerful old money. Interesting that even that doesn't really openly acknowledge that her husband was the deposed leader of Brazil. Just keeps not coming up. Oh, that was the last thing. That's it, huh? So she was forced to marry when she was 15. She has the inheritance. I think all I'm really supposed to go off of here is that it's blood relative. There's confirmation here that she did in fact get the money. That's basically it. It's just the fact that she could not have made that kind of money, so she has to be a confirmed one of the people that had a baby with this crazy man. Damn. All right. So I think I can finally get past that page. Okay, there, sugar plum. Copy that over because I'm gonna go over to Susan's page now. Where is it? Guy's not dead. Anonymom. We're done with Anonymom. Global. Sizely. Right, Susan Ford was... We're back to secretaries, I forgot. Yeah, she was... I mixed her up with Sizely Sanchez, but no. Susan Ford is a completely different person. Sizely could be relevant, but this is the def tab overall, I think. So she was given double the hush money, and then she went on to... although not for as long... Let's see, when did it start? Also, do you two have... Oh, I have everything for both of you. And it seems to be the same documents as each other, so I'm not gonna have a surprise reveal that these twins are somehow have from different fathers. Let's see, so Sugar Plum... Yeah, $2,000 a month. Canceled after 5 months. There's Sugar Plum. Doesn't mention this one though, so what about back here? It gives us a date. Brandorf Dove donation. 250,000. Is that backlog? She goes on to work there, right? But Sugar Plum isn't mentioned as entering development, it's just mentioned as being canceled. I guess this is it being in development, but yeah, 5 months. So it started in January? Because it has the same duration as everyone else. I don't think Sugar Plum is mentioned before that. I see every other flavor. Weird. 350,000. Plus another, so she got 350,000. Well, she got 100,000 herself, and then 250,000 was sent to Grandorf Dove. I believe is where she ended up working, yeah. Expanding the notes a little bit there. Sugar Plum, Susan Ford, 1982, double price for the twins. All right, let's look at the documents I have access to. But this might just be open and shut. There might not be anything else to really think about here. It might just be really straightforward. Let's see. Oh god, the fucking Pico tree? All right, we do have the real document now, right? Pico tree page 2. Here's Mistress Susie into the bathroom to proposition me. Poor girl. Yeah, this is the Sizely thing. Might be all that came up with that about them. That we have a Susie who is a mistress, confirmed by Sizely. Eyewitness. Susan left in 1982. In 1982 is when Sugar Plum stuff happened. He was let go when Guy Hudson dies. So she's the last option to be the last secretary, because I guess we were out of other people. I think this is just done. I think we got it. Like, they're just twins. There's no reason to suspect they're not twins. There's very little evidence according to the game, so there shouldn't really be any surprises here. Them confirming how much evidence exists is helpful. This might be it. This might be the last episode. The question is, figure out what's up with you guys. I bet I'm missing something. Oh! Oh my god. Motherfucker. I mean, I have tried to unpack what these people's deal is a few times, because I'm like, how do you look up the guys from fucking France? Like, what am I missing? Wow. Alright. We're gonna close this off with a fucking journey. This ain't no anticlimax. I'm missing like 10 things. Whew. Gave myself a little break as I warm up to this mess. What are we even gonna do here? Gwynn Roottree, Clark. Not a good sign. That's not a good sign at all. I must have just been doing something wrong here. Okay, question is, who has an internet presence to begin with? So the first clue is the 10 years later. Let's see. As I write this addendum, Clark's gotten married again. No Roottree has ever remarried. Sure, I lost Jacob, and Gwynn divorced Wild Bill just before she had her second. So is that the bit about Gwynn? Just before she had her second. Not even I can blame her for that. I've seen what he gets up to in Starlit. Huh. But now that him took a second husband, there's a lot of shitting on Clark, basically. Yeah, we're familiar with this page. Not much to get out of it. And then just 2 note things about Gwynn Roottree. Starlit. Gwynn Roottree is often in Starlit. Most mentions were about the time of her divorce in 1958 from Wild Bill Williams. I think we're doing a new page here. A little intro here. In 1958. Alright, so Gwynn is an actress with 2 kids, Ronald the elder and Robert the younger. She divorced Wild Bill before her second son was born in 1958. Let's see, Ronald runs RR Productions and has tried to become president. 6th president to remove Robert from the family after he fled to France? Is that what happened? I'm trying to remember what we know about this. After he left their show. Probably more specific. I think there was a crime. Ronald claims that Robert is both illegitimate and committed a crime against the family. That's basically what we know at this moment. Was Ronald actually Gwyn's son? Wild Bill's son in the first place? He seems to claim that Robert isn't. Was Robert born within 9 months of the end of relationship? Going to individually litigate whether or not each of them is actually oof, no. That doesn't matter. Neither of these matter. If they're Gwyn's children, Wild Bill doesn't matter. Gwynn is the heir, so it matters whether or not they're related to Gwynn. Is there any reason to think that one of these boys is not actually Gwyn's son? Given this entire expansion, being a bastard doesn't fucking matter, Lamau. So that's the issue right now, is I'm like, it doesn't really matter what the whole dilemma is. It seemed like Robert was going after Ronald. Ronald's going after Robert. I'm gonna really struggle with these fucking names, which is really annoying that they did that to me. Seemingly based on his legitimacy. Like, he was born out of wedlock, so he's not real as far as heirs go. But most of what we're dealing with here are people that are born out of wedlock. That's just not how the Clans of Trust is written, as far as I know. It's just, are you an heir? Are you a blood relative or not? So as long as they're Gwyn's kids, they're blood relatives. So at first reflex, I expect the answer to just be that they're both blood relatives. But what gives me pause is this giant fucking pile of evidence that I don't have. So is one of them adopted by Gwynn? Maybe. Because yeah, they have to not be Gwyn's kid. That's the rule. Like whether or not they're related to Walter Forsythe, aka Buffalo Wild Bill or whatever his name was. That's not his name. Wild Bill Williams. That part doesn't matter. They could be anyone's. They could be anyone could be the father. That doesn't change whether or not they're Gwyn's sons. And if they're Gwyn's sons, then they're blood heirs, and then they both get check marks and we move on. So I'm just like, what the fuck is this mountain of evidence? Okay. So anyway, I mostly went in there to denote the part about being divorced in 1958, which I wrote up there too, but sure, I'll like bookmark it here for our purposes. There are so many fucking tabs. Oh, but we mostly don't need any of these ever again. Probably. The gossip is speculative and full of tabloid stereotypes. Some of it focused on the fact that she announced her divorce. She also announced she was pregnant again. Others mentioned that the rumor is Wild Bill had multiple affairs, which left her heartbroken. So she announced that pregnancy. That is Robert's pregnancy. Robert being the baby, at least. I don't know if you can phrase it, Robert's pregnancy. There's also an interview from earlier, mid-1957, where she was asked about her last name. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with Cornwall, but Roottree has power. That's because she was born Gwynn Cornwall. Seemingly. I don't know. Did her mom keep the name Roottree, or did she change her name to Gwynn Roottree? Does that count as her maiden name then? I've kind of just been treating it as everyone's like original names being it usually, because most name changes don't seem to count, like nicknames and things. But did she legally change her name and that counts? Because she's locked in as Gwynn Roottree. Let's see. It did make things really messy and confusing because she has a name she shouldn't have, but it counts. But he calls himself Wild Bill Williams, and that doesn't count. We don't call him Wild Bill Williams, we call him Walter Forsythe. But she's Gwynn Roottree, even though she shouldn't be Gwynn Roottree, unless Margot Light never changed her name either. And she just like, I don't know, what do you do when your parents don't have the same last name? Like, do you pick? Do they pick for you, I guess? I guess they probably pick for you. It's like the birth certificate. Although we've relocated to Paris, I know your readers love to keep up with my husband, so consider this a Starlit exclusive about both of us. Wild Bill and I have a child on the way, and we're sticking with Roottree for the last name, not Williams. We also plan to lean into alliteration. That's how we'll honor both our families' names in the next generation. So she was away in Paris. She divorced Wild Bill in 1958 and said she was pregnant again. Back in 1957, she mentioned her first marriage. I just wonder if, like, did she go to France to avoid publicity? It could be that if she left to France, then she supposedly had a kid on the way, but she was like maybe out of the public eye. That's when you could potentially adopt instead of having a kid with an actual pregnancy. Whereas when she then got the divorce, it feels like she then would have come back to the United States, maybe. In which case, her pregnancy, if it's real, would be visible. Let's see. But I don't think we have that level of specificity. And I don't think she's like observed as pregnant by anyone ever. Maybe? Scythe. S-Y-T-H-E. Walter Forsythe? Earlier this year, I did a friend a favor. He was directing a war movie, asked me to play a small part. What'd you know? Something, but coming from the picture. This is true love, just some crying woman. So not a lot of context about Gwynn from this one. Visibly pregnant. Alright, that's a sign in favor of Robert being a legitimate child of hers, is that she was seen holding a baby while visibly pregnant, which means that she already had Robert. She already had Ron. I hate their names. I hate their names so much. Especially since, honestly, Robert sounds like an older name than Ronald, which is arbitrary, but it makes it worse. Okay, so she was holding Ronald already, and she was pregnant with Robert. So that part's true, as far as we can tell, unless there's a third baby switcheroo. But once again, I have like no evidence that they're not legitimate kids at all. I'm just trying to like poke at where the lie would be, if there was one. Because one, that mountain of evidence leading to nothing would be really disappointing. But two, I already called out ages ago in this part of the game, at least, not that long ago, but during this investigation part, once it was called into question, and it finally was told to me what the square meant, I was like, Ronald tried to kick Robert out on the pretense that Robert's not a legitimate Roottree. So narratively, it'd be deeply ironic and amusing if Ronald's not legitimate and Robert is legitimate, because that would be like the ultimate sort of hypocrisy and sort of call it. It's also similar to the move they played with these characters, where it's like they specifically made a big point about how Jane Doe Roottree is illegitimate, but 5-piece is legitimate, provably, supposedly, and then it turned out to be exactly the opposite as far as we can tell. That's what I'm wondering about. I'm glad I found that hint. Yep, Starlet Wild Bill Williams. Was that not there before? I don't think it was. Maybe. Alright, let's try Starlet, Ronald, and Robert Roottree. Space, alright. Our productions. Alright. Our production seemed to have no projects listed in development other than Guys Like Us remake. Their mom's project? The Guys Like Us remake has been discussed a few times on websites about upcoming films called Move News? Movie News. Oh, that's a terrible name. The logo is a cow on a film canister. That's atrocious. That's terrible. The rumored cast is Cameron Diaz in the role originated by Gwynn, Linda Fiorentino, and Chris O'Donnell. According to the leaked news, the remake has been put on indefinite hiatus due to its director, who was speculated to be Rod Roottree, dropping out in the wake of serious medical issue, though that's only a rumor. Ronald Roottree is the one who stayed. A medical issue. Okay, should I look up Ron Roottree? Ah, how about you? Nope. Like, he uses Ron instead of Ronald. What an obnoxious thing to keep happening with these characters. Ron was announced as president of Roottree during the Roottree Rift, but the next press release immediately reversed that announcement and instead stated that Ron and Clark would take over. What if the illegitimacy of Ron came out? What if the Roottrees know that he's illegitimate and they blackmailed him? Maybe Clark found out he's illegitimate and then blackmailed him out of the presidency. A few weeks later, Ron was dropped from the title entirely. There are hundreds of results about this development, but most articles are retelling basic details. Some veer into heavy speculation based on the article about Ron in Business Watch. Get to you in a second. Ron has also done some interviews saying that the truth of what went on behind the scenes is not something he wishes to discuss. Instead, he hopes to release a movie about it someday. I think I read this before, yeah. 3 weeks ago, Ron's mother Gwynn died in Paris, France. He and his brother Robbie have seemingly made amends. I feel like maybe Ron found out he's illegitimate. And that's why he got kicked out of the presidency, and also maybe why he made amends with his brother, because he's actually maybe less legitimate than he is, which is quite the comeuppance for him. Breathe deep, stop yawning, damn. Business Watch ran an article about 2 months after the Roottree Rift about what really happened with Roottree. The article mentions that nobody from Roottree that they reached out to has been willing to go on the record. Instead, the timeline of events has been constructed from public record, external leaks, and a source on the inside. The only parts that are new to you are the most vague parts, the ones supposedly confirmed by their anonymous source. The timeline says that the family actually held a preliminary vote after Carl Roottree died, but before the release of 6 Pieces, and decided that they wanted Ron Roottree to take over, but because of his experience running RR Productions, and because he was well-known and well-respected Roottree. But Ron seemed way too eager and personally motivated. They were worried that he would cut the Clancid Trust to remove Robbie Roottree. The family was notoriously unwilling to do anything that would risk their wealth. They stalled, and Ron became frustrated with the delay. When 6 Pieces came out, he saw the chance to force action with the family while it was in the limelight, and released the press release himself in an attempt to get the ball rolling faster. This caused chaos within the family. They tried to save face by allowing Ron to take over as co-president with Clark, but according to Business Watch's source, Ron was impossible to deal with. He seemed like he was unwilling to protect the clan's trust, and they eventually let him go. After that, the role passed solely to Clark, who notably was excited about, but seemed... who nobody was excited about, but seemed like the safest choice. I know I've read this before, but I'm trying to find out if anything is new to be taken from it. Is any of this, like, differently legible now? Just the Guys Like Us remake. I'm definitely trying to figure out if any of this, like, has new context to it as we go. Let's see. Guys Like Us remake. Is there any reason to look up Cameron Diaz, for example? Oops. Chris O'Donnell. I think these are all just real life actors. I definitely know who Cameron Diaz is. From the reboot of Charlie's Angels, everyone's favorite movie. Was she even in that? Did I hallucinate that? Anything about the original movie? Because those people that would have been around her at least. Gwynn, Roottree, Leslie, Florence, and Harrison Lane. Leslie Florence was the other actress besides Gwynn Roottree in Guys Like Us. Before Guys Like Us, she was in a very small supporting roles, and her performance in Guys Like Us was generally thought of as quite good, especially considering she got second billing to Gwynn. Even with success and acclaim, she retired from Hollywood almost immediately after her co-starring role. Not much is known about her until recently, when Guys Like Us was released right after the end of Rootreemania. Recently, as part of a myriad of articles and research people have done in those surrounding the Roottrees, it came out that she died of a genetic disease known as Huntington's in the late 1960s. Huh. Like a little summary to that. In the late 1960s, when was Guys Like Us? $1953. I am curious about something. The above quote is assumed to be about Gwynn. But what if it isn't? The fact that there's no proof it's about Gwynn in this kind of story does make me think it might be intentionally vague. The fact that there was the guy's known for sleeping around, and there's another woman co-starring in movies with Gwynn. And then she died shortly thereafter of a disease that she probably knew about at some point. So it might have been that she was unfit to care for the child. There's no universe where Gwynn thinks it's hers, because that's not how pregnancy works on the woman's side of things. But I'm like, what if there's something going on here? That'd be interesting. Older article about guys like us. Man, guys like us is not described at all. She has like no history or presence we can dig into, which makes her easy to forget in history. Two secretaries cut their hair short and pose as businessmen to get ahead in life. That's what that's right. Yeah. That does make it a different movie though. Are you sure you didn't mean Roottree? The game noticing it. So that's guys like us. That have severe pneumonia. Is brutal. Hopefully she wasn't poisoned or something. Here, this version show more of her movie. Christmas Mission. No additional information. I don't currently have a reason to think that Leslie was in this movie. That was her name, right? Yeah. I don't currently have a reason to think that Leslie was in Christmas Mission, which seemingly is the one that was about that. That's a bit of a dead end for me. Harrison Lane. Harrison Lane was a television actor with a major role in Guys Like Us and some other films. His largest role before Guys Like Us was as the villain in the first season of Western Frontiers. Due to the popularity of Guys Like Us, the studio brought Lane back to play the villain's twin brother. This time as a hero joining the protagonist. Western Frontiers has no connection to the Roottree, as Harrison Lane seems like a dead end. Harrison Lane married his high school sweetheart after they reunited at a movie premiere. At a movie premiere. Leslie Florence. Keep mentioning Leslie in my notes. I'm like, remember their full name, because that would both at some level of respect and also because it's a very helpful story for knowing people's full names. That makes me curious. Is there a Leslie Lane? Unhelpful. Not a good sign. Okay. I tried. So I'm like, Harrison Lane married his high school sweetheart when they reunited after a movie premiere. Trying to dig deep here because I'm like, where the fuck is the remaining stuff? Okay, guys like us. That's a smoking gun. Leslie is a smoking gun. There's a bit of a goofy part of this part of the game is that like it being like, oh, you're saying Leslie's a smoking gun, huh? That kind of does just tell me that he's Leslie's son. Because she was visibly present, I keep saying visibly present. She was visibly pregnant with Robert while holding Ronald. We have not found evidence yet that she was ever seen pregnant with Ronald, and this is a mystery, which implies that there's something to unpack here that's worth doing. And just like genre savviness and pattern recognition and just noticing that Leslie Florence is here immediately kind of just tells me that that Ronald is Leslie Florence's kid, but I'm trying to find the actual evidence for it now to back that up. This is also why whenever I'm playing anything and the comments are like, ooh, funny you should say that, interesting, and they think they're not spoiling something, it just immediately spoils the thing for me. If you comment on something about anything that I say that has any level of like irony given the context or anything, you do just like immediately spoil for me what's going on with the plot of that particular game, and then I have to like pretend I didn't see that and shit, because most of the time it's like I know what that means, just like with this kind of stuff. Like I can pick up on these kinds of fucking patterns. So if you like interesting, you should say that in that moment, then anyone with a brain can immediately interpret why it would be interesting for you to say that. They're so bad about spoilers in those contexts. Like there's people that just think spoilers don't matter and that's different, but there's people that specifically want to see me react to the thing and are waiting with bated breath for that to happen in certain playthroughs. This is unrelated to this game. But then they'll also won't shut up. And so they'll just be like hinting to me what the spoiler is that they don't want me to know yet. And I'm like, well, now I'm gonna know because you're really bad at this. That's not related to this game because none of this game is even out yet to the public. Okay, so this is a lot more filled in, thankfully. I'm down to like 4 blanks. And I guess the number of blanks in the first place wasn't quite as overwhelming and huge as I first thought. Let's see. It was interesting that she died of Huntington's in the 60s, and we have a rumor. Did I highlight that? Not listed anywhere in here. But yeah, it's Ronald is rumored to have left because of a personal health crisis. Does he have Huntington's? Because that would be an interesting connection to have there. Spelling right. Apostrophe S.